Yes, guys, how you doing? Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. Don't know where to start, but I didn't know where to start. The game finished 2-2, 94th minute, leveler from Everton, Jared Branthwaite. Another 2 points given away, gifted away at the end of a battling encounter. Saturday morning kickoffs. So much to discuss. An interesting first half, completely different shape in the second half to the game. But ultimately, Tottenham Hotspur find themselves only taking 1 point away, and we were 180 seconds away from going level on points with Arsenal in third spot or fourth spot. Obviously, they would have had a better goal difference. Instead, we've left the door open for Aston Villa to get back above us and for the other teams beneath us to close the gap over the rest of the weekend. It's a very, very frustrating Sean Butler that is going to present to you this afternoon, guys. I've got Johnny in the background. I'm going to bring him in just a second. I've got James and Jack from Spurs Related and Aaron coming in too. They're going to give us all of their thoughts and feedback on the game. We're going to go through the players, the tactics, Everton, your thoughts. Get your comments in. Make sure you hit the like button, guys. As you take your shoes off, you know how it works. Hit the subscribe button as well. And make sure you get over to all the guys in the show's channel or follow them on Twitter. All that detail can be found in the description. Let's bring Johnny's in first. How you doing, Johnny, mate?
I'm raging. How many more games are we going to finish week?
Can't see a game out, can we? Can't see it out.
Honestly, it's like, why wait to the 88th minute to bring on Dragusin? Like, why start with Johnson? Why wait? I mean, I can't believe he even came on for the second half, to be honest with you. I mean, that space in behind. I just don't understand it. Such a pointless free kick from Kulu. Why when
last thing you want to do, the only joy Everton had the entire game,
set pieces.
I thought we defended fantastically well in open play. I thought our defense was magnificent, including Udogie and Porro, and obviously Van der Ven was just absolutely sensational, as was Romero, apart from set pieces. And then you got a 1-goal cushion, and in the 94th minute we did it against Brentford. We did it against Wolves. We do it against all these teams when you have a 1-goal lead and then you're just offering them chances. You're offering them opportunities to steal the points or to steal a point.
It's his ethos. It's his ethos. Right, it's great if you're scoring goals and you're winning games and you're 4-1 up and you concede a goal. But I'm sorry, I saw it. I was there at Wolves, right, for that. Okay, I saw us hanging on against Bournemouth. I saw us hanging on. I mean, what was it against Burnley in the bloody cup? Right at the end. Højbjerg's having to put a 97th minute block to stop us getting a draw. I've said it again and again and again. There's a fundamental weakness in that last 10 minutes. Man City, we had it. Hanging on at Bournemouth. It's eat, sleep, repeat. I could just see it coming. I was waiting and waiting. And the other thing is, you say the defence played well. I've got to be honest. When you see your keepers getting bullied like that, what do you do?
Oh, well, yeah. Well, that's a separate topic. Yeah. In play, I'm saying. In play, we were... I thought Van der Ven was absolutely sensational. I thought Romero, for the most part, I thought we handled everything defensively very well during the open play. But there's a level of maturity, a level of natural, just obvious logic in the first half when they have, what was it? We'll get the stats up. 10 corners. Good to see you, Jack. How you doing, mate? I'll come to you in just a second. There's a natural cheap corners. Well, first of all, try not to concede corners as easily as we were. We were just giving them corners. And second of all, why on God's green earth, what does it take for one of the defenders to go, Bakary is under an immense amount of pressure here all the time, and it's basically Jack Harrison that is starting about 4 yards out and then just running into him. Why don't I get in the way of Jack Harrison? How about that? stop Jack Harrison doing
This
that.
is what I'm saying.
Vicario having an issue.
And Romero, I'm not being funny. You know, that's your point where you're like the captain in defence there to step up and protect him, right? Where's the aggressive Vicario? I mean, Romero. I thought we were so naive in that first half. I really, really did. This is the team that can't score a goal. They've scored 2 goals. It was a pathetic free kick. We're under pressure. There's not long to go. Boot the ball out. Why are you trying to be clever? Richarlison, just at the depth there, you could see Richarlison was on empty. He had nothing left, right? He should have come off, right? He gave his
sensational performance from him.
And they're passing the ball to him. He's lost the ball twice in the last in that last 5 minutes before the goal. He was knackered. Sorry, John.
No, what I was going to say is Romero, Dragoshin, Van der Ven, they're not afraid to throw their body weight normally off the ball. But when you've got the dying seconds with a corner, you've got to be strong. You've got to be able, if someone's pushing you, you've got to be able to use your body weight back. And I just feel like you say, in the final 10 minutes, it's the same story each time. That's the reason why we probably won't be in a title race. Not because sometimes we're lacking quality. It's that backbone. It's that desire where you're like, this is the games we need to win. It's all good and fun and games playing with more pie and taking the mick. But when the going gets tough and you've really got to get over the line and you've really got to dig in, we haven't shown it. And it's annoying today. Don't get me wrong. I'm very optimistic. I'm happy with where we are. But it's incredibly frustrating when you see the same story over and over again. When you know that a team like Everton are starving for a result. The only quality they had today was from set pieces. When you need to give it back, when you need your players like your captain, Romero, to step up and show his physicality, show his leadership, we fell short again today. And for me, it's just incredibly frustrating because you feel you're so close. You feel like you're the better team. And teams like Everton should not be beating us now. Sorry,
I mean, I predicted this before the game. I was talking to a couple of people. I felt that they were 100% going to bully us more than Everton were, than Brentford were. And I felt that Kulu should have started, even though he was poor the last 2 games, because we needed that physicality. But to have a team with no Onana, no Doucouré, no Gomez, this was an opportunity to boss that middle of the park. And let's be honest, right? You say I mean, I don't think we played well up front. I really don't. What I mean by
we'll talk about the specifics. I did want to go through.
Yeah, I'm
go
just saying,
on, John.
Do you actually think, right, that we had tons
I
of
thought the first half we played to their hands, right? Usually we play our football and the other teams have to to try and frustrate us. This time around, we got sucked into a scrappy game of football. In the first half, especially, I thought it was absolutely terrible. In the second half, we came out, as we usually do, after some sort of, stern talking to about some simple A, Bs and Cs of our system. And we came out firing. Maddison was far better in the first 15, 20 minutes of the second half than he was in the first half. Benson caught another stinker. Look, we're going to go through all the specifics. Sava and James joining us as well. Aaron can't make it, so Sava's coming in. Before I do, just quickly, I'll bring Sava in and say hello to him. Quickly, Sava, before I say hello to you, mate, Blaine with a super chat saying, I'm really concerned that recently that we are conceding from set plays, yet for something like the first 15 minutes of the season, we didn't concede one. Something we worked on in training.
Speak to Ryan Mason.
Yeah, 100%, Blaine. Look, I mean, it's been a massively frustrating. It's a period. This isn't just today. Everton are known for set pieces. They're a massive team. They're a strong team. It was clear that was what they were going to do. All of us that were talking in the pre-games on various channels, I'm sure, were all saying this is how we're going to concede if we are going to concede. And ultimately, that's the way it came to pass. But there's certain things, simple things that you can do to resolve that. And I think that there is massive question marks for me about the in-game intelligence. If it takes a half-time dressing down to bring to attention what should have been obvious to every single person that was watching the game, I'm sure we all saw it in the first half. Yeah. Someone stopped Jack Harrison irritating Vicario. And in the second half, stop giving away stupid, unnecessary free kicks. But apparently the players on the pitch are caught up in the moment and are not paying attention. So I completely agree with you, Blaine. Let me just set my settings up so that when someone brings up a comment, it doesn't hide everyone's face.
Can I just say one thing? The one thing that hasn't been mentioned since we've been on here, right? Okay, there's lots of negatives, but can I just say for all those people still giving him grief, right? Richarlison was superb today.
Oh,
right?
and sensational today.
Right?
Absolutely sensational.
Honestly, he must be so peed off, right, that this is the result, because he deserved more. You know, that game finishes, he gets the accolades. Today, he's going to get no accolades, because basically, at the end of the day, all Spurs fans can think about was the points that were lost.
He'll get his flowers during on this channel, at least, because I'm someone who's given him a hell of a lot of criticism over the last 18 months. But since November, since his surgery, he's a new guy, rebuilt and full of confidence. Saba, how you doing, mate? Initial thoughts on the overall situation that we've just seen?
Yeah, big up everyone. I don't know. I just feel like every game at the moment is a tough watch. I feel like we've stopped playing. We seem to have kind of regressed into a team that are counter-attacking again. Like, we look really dangerous on counter-attacks. Our goals tend to come from quick bursts of play, but the kind of dominating possession, I don't just mean passing across the back, the kind of domination in midfield seems to have completely gone the last 7, 8, 9 games. And I think we look so poor defensively. I think we look all over the place.
Oh, really?
I mate, every game, the chances look how many times today they got in behind us. Again, teams are getting in behind us. That's going to
happen, though, isn't it? With the high line, when you lose the ball in the midfield, you're going to get the ball, you're going to get in behind, but it's about clearing it up. And Van der Ven today was just absolutely sensational.
Van der Ven is different level to anyone else at the football club in terms of defensively. But it's the constant bringing the ball out the back from Porro, Udogie, and Romero and giving it away, putting pressure on us. I don't get it. I really don't get it. And I'm watching us in the last few games. 2 goals today, 2 versus Brentford, 2 versus Man United. This is, let's be fair. Brentford should have scored more. Everton, let's be really honest. Sorry, I nearly swore.
What about Bournemouth? What about Bournemouth? 25
Bournemouth
shots.
should have scored loads.
I mean,
Brighton got 4.
Solanke had 5 chances against us, and he couldn't put the ball away. I mean, I agree with you, Sava. I mean, the fact of the matter is, we're watching the game, and why is it us as Spurs fans, Jack, Sava, and Sean, why is it that we can see the space behind Johnson when he's playing is so vast? Exploit it. And that's what they did. Every single team that plays us is playing into that space. We're so predictable. Maybe when Sarr comes back, he'll be able to cover. But again, it's a huge ask. It's a huge ask. And
it's the system, isn't it? Like I always say that there's you can't have 13 players on the pitch, and so if you're going to invert both fullbacks or at least one of them, then other teams are paying attention. They've seen Vicario's vulnerability against City. Yeah. Brentford tried to do it, didn't quite manage it, but tried. Now, I think that the people are learning our system and how to exploit it. Jag, what's your? I mean, these guys are saying that I thought defensively we were, given that the system is what it is. And that I thought we got back in play. I know I'm not talking about the set pieces. The set pieces we were shambles, but in play, I didn't think we were too bad, were we? Or am I wrong?
I think in play we weren't too bad because we're going to take that risk. We're always going to let up the space, but the reason we're allowing to do that is because we know how good Mickey Van der Ven is at making recovery tackles. But the main problem for me was today, you've got Maddison and Bentancur starting. In that first half, I didn't feel like we controlled the game at all. And that's why I think we're giving up space because, like Saba said, we're giving away silly chances. When we're carrying the ball out from the back, you expect Maddison and Bentancur to protect the ball really well. Bentancur's obviously come back from injury, but I've been really disappointed. You want someone kind of to dictate the pace of the game, find those balls in behind and kind of keep possession. I felt like we gave away the ball too many times and we were kind of stunting our attacks. And it was just, I was getting really frustrated at kind of how much self-infliction we were doing to ourselves. And that's the reason at the end, because we were giving the ball away, that's why they were getting the corners. That's why they got that free kick at the end.
Listen, I completely agree. I think that for me personally, like I always say, especially with this system, you need to reverse engineer where the problems start from. And a lot of the time, of late at least, I feel like the midfield are sloppy with possession when we don't need to be. When people have just started their movement to go up the field, we then lose the ball. I thought Bentancur had an absolute stinker today. I thought Højbjerg had moments of concentration, but moments of lapses.
Some good passes. I'll tell you,
Some really good
Idris
passes.
Gueye
I thought he got back and defended well at times, but again, he has these little phases where he just drifts like he's falling asleep. I thought Johnson was absolutely woeful in the first half. Brennan Johnson did his usual trotting around the pitch, running on the spot, looking like he's moving, but not moving anywhere.
With Johnson,
he looks like he's looking for his dog. He looks like someone who's on the field going, "Where's my dog gone?"
Porro picked up a fantastic pot of space and he was looking to play Johnson through. And we know Johnson's got the pace to kind of take a touch and burst through. Johnson was like just like a deer in the headlights. And I don't want to give Johnson slander because I feel like he has moments in the second half. He was a lot better. He put a ball through to Werner, which I feel like if Werner got in front of his man, it would have been a much better chance. But in that first half, you're like, you're doing so much positional work, surely, with Ange in the week. Why are you not sticking to your position? Why are you not looking to use your pace and get in behind? It's just continually frustrating. And you feel like he's had a goal. Surely he's going to have a bit of confidence, like we've seen with Richarlison. I just don't know when it's going to click for Johnson. But I feel like for us to be up there at the end of the season, it's going to have to click sooner rather than later.
Could you imagine that midfield today? I'm just calling it as it is. I thought Idris Gueye was fantastic today for them. Yeah. In the middle of the park. He was winning back everything almost on his own. But put in there Doucouré and Nana, right? I think we would have got absolutely smashed to bits in the midfield today. I don't think we would have been on the park. Maddison's still recovering. You know, he's still fragile, I reckon. I just think it's eat, sleep, repeat. I don't see an improvement in the covering the space and being exploited down that flank. And I was at Wolves, you know, 1-0 up, 10 minutes to go, not even 10 minutes to go in injury time, and we concede 2 goals. It's just the last 10 minutes,
If there was 10 more minutes in that game,
we would have lost.
They would have got the winner. They would have got the winner.
100%. 100%. And that's how it feels. I don't know whether the players are feeling that, and that's what's it, but that's how I felt. Blow the bloody whistle, kick the ball up the pitch. I don't know what Kulu was trying to do. Why are you trying to be smart? Boot the ball up the pitch, play the game out, use your noggin.
Do you think that there is, Sam, I'll ask you this question, mate, on Johnny's point, do you think that there is this like group think going on in the team that because Angie's philosophy is we don't stop, right? I said this after last week's game. If you would have put like a bit of tape on your screen and didn't know the time of the game or the scoreline, you wouldn't be able to tell from the way Tottenham are playing. You either 2-0 up, 2-0 down, 0-0, 90th minute, first minute, and Tottenham are trying to play the same system. Do you think that philosophy is taken too literally by the team and that there's very little independent thought, like intelligence to say in certain situations that needs to be adaptable and you need to kind of mold to the environment? And like, for example, the last couple of minutes, you don't get the ball down and try and juke through 2 players in the 93rd minute when you're clearly under pressure.
Yeah, I think we talked about this the other day after, I'm not sure which game it was. I think it was after Burnley. I think we were all on screen together. And I said, the one thing for me is, you know, Sean, I always say things like, it's either there or there, right? Everything's either brilliant or shit, right? Everything's just there or there. For me, I think Spurs are that when we play football. I think we're either 100 miles per hour when we look brilliant or we don't. I think we kind of need to bring it a bit into middle ground. I think we need to start putting our foot on the ball during games and having some sustained possession. Now, I'm not talking about looking at possession stats that will say, oh, we had 65% of the ball. I mean, in the midfield, put our foot on the ball, take the sting out of a game, slow it down, and not constantly get it and try and find the quick wingers very quickly every time. Because the turnover for me, somebody put in the chat, I don't know if this is true, is that we've turned over the ball more times than anyone else in the Premier League this year. Now,
yeah, maybe. I've not seen
that. Like what you always say, Sean, the bitter with the better. But
yeah,
you've got to have a look. Liverpool and City, who are the benchmark, obviously, they're the benchmark of teams. Don't give the ball away as quickly as we do. We give the ball away.
I was just looking at one of the stats. Pedro Porro, I was wondering why he was given a 6.6. I mean, listen, SofaScore's algorithm is questionable, but obviously I know why Romero was, because he gave away the kind of, well, we'll look at it in a second, but From 48 passes today, Pedro Porro gave it away 11 times. That's 25% of his passes were awry. I mean, that's too much. Right, 77% pass accuracy for a right back is too much. Now, he's usually someone that's incredibly. He's like one of our more kind of technical, reliable. Like you can rely on him for his technicality, but he wasn't clicking today. I don't think he's forged any real relationship with Brennan Johnson. I don't think that's the same on the left. I think Timo Werner and Destiny Doggy are figuring things out in a nice way. But on the right-hand side, it looks very awkward sometimes between these players and figuring out who's supposed to be where when Pape Sarr is not on the pitch. When Pape Sarr's on the pitch, it feels a lot more secure over there. James, how you doing, mate? Welcome to the show.
Hello, guys. You okay? Other than the obvious.
Yeah, good, mate. I'm gonna bring you in just a second to get your overall thoughts, and then we're gonna go into some specifics. Before I do, it's got a couple of super chats, guys. Druzilla, member for the 7 months, absolute legend of the channel as well, mate. You're always keeping people on their A game with the engagement stuff in the chat. Really appreciate you, mate. Big up Sean in the chat. Smash a like and subscribe 100%. And whilst you're smashing subscribes, get yourself down to the description and click on the links to Johnny and to Spurs related. I'm going to add Sabbers now, so you can get over there as well and subscribe to those wonderful people for sharing their Saturday afternoon with you. Blaine's back in. Appreciate you so much, Blaine. Why aren't we killing games off? Also, if this philosophy is score more than you do, then go and get the goals at 2-1. We just stop playing. James, you know what? I'm actually going to spring you straight on this one here because it's a really good question. I was screaming at the TV throughout the second half. We need a third goal here. If we don't get a third goal, we're gonna drop points here. Is there something to what Blaine's saying here? The philosophy is we're going to keep going. We never stop, but we sort of do at times.
Yeah, I agree. Especially second half. It felt like when it got to like sort of the 75th minute, I don't remember having many more shots, if any. And it was like a case of, right, we'll try and hang on to this 2-1 lead. And as you guys have been saying, it seemed like a matter of time when we were going to concede that goal. Of course, it's a scrappy goal, and I'm sure, we'll get into things a little bit more on that. But I just feel like I'd love to see Tottenham play the way they've been playing throughout sort of that end of that second half, end of the first half. We were playing really well. I thought that we had a couple of good chances, but it feels like, yeah, like I said, when it gets to a certain time, we just go, right, we'll hang on to this lead now. Like Johnny was saying as well, I was listening 10 minutes ago, in that Bournemouth game, we felt like even though we'd won, we were winning. It was like, where's that full-time whistle? It was like we were clawing on at the end. We looked
hanging on.
A different team.
Yeah.
Go on, Johnny.
I was just going to say, I mean, we have lost 8 goals? Hang on. I just posted it myself. I've forgotten now. Spurs have now conceded 8 goals in the 90th minute this season. They're most in a single campaign ever, and the most by any club or any side in the division, right? There is an issue. There is a problem. And let me tell you, it would have been even more had it not been for last-ditch tackles, last-ditch saves and interventions. I just want to say one thing. The inconsistency of refereeing this season is just too much to bear. Basuma against Luton, you were there with me, Sean, right? Basuma got sent off for diving, right? Blatant diving.
Yellow, second
right?
yellow, yeah.
No, he got a yellow. He got sent off, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Now, Godfrey was on a yellow. That was the worst. I mean, that was just the horrific dive. I mean, he dived. He wasn't even anywhere near him. He was down there rolling around, holding his ankle. It's a yellow card, right? If you're going to have consistency, I'm not saying it would have made any difference to the game, but it was no coincidence that Sean Dyche took him off straight off.
Listen, there was a Liverpool player who got a double yellow card for overreacting, frustrating or whatever, back talk or whatever it was a few weeks ago. Ben Godfrey went absolutely mental at the linesman I think it was the second half. Yeah, and then he carried on. He carried on, effing and blinding at the top of his voice for the next 5 minutes. Every time there was a breakdown, he was still turning around and having a pop at the ref. I mean, look, I don't think you should get double yellow card for dissent twice for the same incident anyway. But the fact that there was a precedent set. Anyway, I don't know. You're right. I agree with you, mate. The referees are the worst part of football at the moment.
He was trying to get Richarlison booked or sent off for a vicious tackle, and he didn't even touch him. He was nowhere near. It was embarrassing. Yeah. Ali McCoy said, I mean, obviously I had to watch about second time. He said it was embarrassing. It was.
Yeah.
You know, no consistency. We're clutching at straws because we all know we're as Spurs fans watching this season. We knew what was coming. My point is here that, you know, I'm not seeing the free-flowing attacking football in the sense that we are
see it in
smashing
moments,
the goal
don't we?
front. We're not creating chance after chance after chance. You know,
It's more spells now, Johnny. I feel like at the start of this season that we were constant, 100 mile an hour, like Sava said, like you can't giving them no time. But now it's like you said, it feels more like counter-attacking. Like today, I never felt like we were controlling the game. I felt like we were relying on individual brilliance, which come from Richarlison. Like, when were we going to say that at the start of the season? And fair play to him because he did grab the game by the scruff of the neck today, and he scored 2 absolutely worldy goals. And without him, we wouldn't have been able to create anything. I don't feel like I ever felt like we were carving them open. I think our other best chance was when there was a bit of good play by Maddison and Kulusevski, and maybe Richarlison had another shot which was saved by Pickford. But we're expecting with this
a couple of long shots from Maddison and Porro. That was about it.
Long shots, but still like savable chances. We didn't carve them open, I'd say. And before, it was like a chance every couple of minutes. Now you're kind of waiting for that individual brilliance to get the goal, and that's where it's a bit like, come on, guys, you've got to kill the game off. The philosophy is to keep on going. And then I just felt like we got nervous and kind of went into our shell. And that's ultimately why they scored.
I feel like...
Yeah, listen, I completely agree. Sorry, go on, Sava.
Sorry, mate, go.
I'll just get through these last super chats and then I'll come back to you. Jory's saying, once again, we have no overload in the transition. Yeah, I think that, you know, I'm not sure why it is, but sometimes we decide, you know, if we get the ball back in open play, we bomb forward like madmen, like a cavalry charge, and other times we get the ball in transition and there's no support. You know, I saw Timo Werner get forward 2 or 3 times today, and there was really no options, no outlets for him. It's weird. It's a very weird one. Today didn't feel anything like, as Jack was saying, Ange ball to me, for the most part. So congratulations to Everton for kind of disrupting the way we play in more than one way. And Nick Walker, big up Nick, says, I'm not too disappointed. I can see exactly what Ange is trying to do. And this is about more than one game. I don't want to see Højbjerg again, though. So I'll let you start this one. Like, you know, I think we have to analyze the game in isolation. But to Nick's point, obviously, you know, do you have concerns about the bigger picture, or are we still moving in the right direction?
Oh, look, we listen. I think, you know, we're YouTubers, football pundits, whatever you want to say, football fans. We all analyze games, right? It's going to happen. You can't just come on after every game and say we're brilliant, everything's great. The season's been very good. Yeah, loads of people before the season started were talking about being in a relegation battle. So let's put perspective on it. 4th, doing brilliantly, right?
Yeah,
but at the same time, we are allowed to say if we don't think something's working. And for me, something is not right.
100%.
A lot of the time, it was people talking about when Van de Ven and Romero come back, we're going to be brilliant again. And that was the reason why we couldn't play and control games. And they've been back now for 3 or 4 games. And I think this is 3 or 4 of the games where we've looked our worst, if I'm brutally honest with you. For me, I think we lack... I know everyone wants to talk about how good Bentancur is and Basuma and Sarr and Madden. I think we lack a top-class central midfielder that can run games.
A 6?
I like Bentancur. Huh?
A 6?
For me, I don't even care what number they are, right? I just want a midfielder that goes in there and you... Like, when Man City play and you watch Rodri dictate games from start to finish, he speeds up the tempo, he slows it down when he needs to. Right, Kovacic.
Yeah.
I watch ours, and our midfielders, for me, all again a bit like our football. They all play well in patches, and then have patches where they don't play well. And that's the difference for me between having quality midfielders and good midfielders. Quality midfielders, game in, game out, run games. Quality midfielders, every game do it. For me, Bentancur, I've always said this about him. Really good footballer, lovely technical footballer. My thing, even when I watched him at Juve, was that sometimes he's brilliant, other times games just completely pass him by. Top midfielders don't let that happen. Basuma, another one. He's in and then he's out. Sarr is a kid. I'm not going to go in on him. Sarr's a kid, right? For me, I think you've got to get a Zubimendi, you know, somebody of that ilk that gets the ball and dictates a game. So for me, we're going in the right direction to answer your question, Sean. Definitely going in the right direction. But I still don't think if we don't add that sprinkle of quality, we can keep buying 17, 18, 19-year-olds. If you do not buy those match winners, the game changers, there will be a limit to what Ange can do. You've got to sprinkle this in the summer with a top forward, a top midfielder. And for me, I still think another centre-half needs to go in as well. I don't think the defence is as good as other people think it is.
Well, it's funny you say that. So we've had one clean sheet, right, in 15 games. Okay, it's shocking, right? And the interesting thing is, I'll go back to the beginning of the season. Romero spoke to Ange, and he says that he prefers to play with Emerson Royal because he's better defensively than Porro, right? And Ange turned around to him and said, I don't care what you think. I'm here to win games. That's all I care about, right? Whereas Romero cares about not conceding goals, right? And there are games like for today, I would have bought on Emerson Royal. I know this is probably controversial to play as the right back because he can play as a centre back as well and press Porro further forward because Porro can track back. You've then got double up on anyone that's coming down on that side, and he's more effective. He's very effective forward. I didn't see Kulu do anything when he came on. How many fouls did Kulu give away when he came on, apart from the needless one at the end? I just feel like there's something wrong. How can you be up there challenging? Seriously, well, as Sava says, when you've got one clean sheet in 15 games, it's poor. It's poor. It's not
Go into every Tottenham game now expecting. You go into every Tottenham game now expecting both teams to score. Like, I can't remember the last time, other than the Man City FA Cup game, you expect us to score and you expect us to concede. It's just a matter of, are we scoring more or are we conceding more? I mean, we can't go on like that, surely. Like,
it's the way it is, mate.
I find incredible. What's that, sorry?
It's the way it is, mate.
It's who we are.
Yeah.
Who we are.
That's all we get, really.
I make you 100% right.
What's that?
Sorry, I just wanted to back up that point there you made. Absolutely right. I never ever now, when I'm doing score predictions, I never say 3-0, 2-0. I always go, we're gonna concede, and I think Johnny had it bang on earlier. Without Mickey van der Ven, I listen, I'll get hate for this in the chat. I know I will. I think Mickey van der Ven covers over a multitude of sins in the way we defend. I genuinely think he makes that back foot. Like, I remember when people used to say last year, if you put a top player alongside Romero, you'll see him better. I think it doesn't. I think for me, it highlights what he is. I think Mickey van der Ven holds that defense together like no one else. He is breathtakingly good.
I don't know. I disagree with that. I think that Romero is the best of the centre backs on the ball. He brings the ball out much better. And he connects the passes. He zips by. I don't think there's a better passing centre back in the top six than Romero, if I'm entirely honest. And I think
the last two games, Sean. He keeps coming out and just gifting it into the. He runs with it into midfield, gifts it to the other team, and then Van der Ven's got to clean up the mess. Van der Ven for me is a Rolls Royce.
Van der Ven is absolutely crucial for this system because of his pace and because of the fact that we, are playing a high line. Like, I think that they're like, I'm not going to. The bitter with the better. You have to expect that when we lose the ball in high line, Romero's not slow, but he doesn't have anywhere near the pace of Van der Ven. And I think that they play like one's yin to the other one's yang. Like, I think that personally, Romero is the guy who of the two of them who does more with the ball, and Van der Ven's the guy of the two of them who does more of the tidying up, right? And I think that works. It seems to work for the most part in play, but we're going to give away significant chances. Because it's not just about Van der Ven's recovery pace. It's not just about Romero that might be caught up the pitch a little bit. It's also Pedro Porro and Destiny Udogie. And Udogie is running. Udogie runs like a sprinter with the ball at his feet. And then he has to turn around and gallop back. That's gonna absolutely exhaust someone after a while. And
no up left-sided, no backup left back. Said this before. We need to go and buy one. But I just find the whole thing really frustrating that, well, one thing we know, if you have possession, you ain't going to concede. And in those last few minutes of games, we retreat. I don't understand it. We retreat, invite teams on, and our defence will win out in the end. No, keep possession of the ball. Let's play keep ball. Let's pass the ball around. Let's draw them in. And yeah, if they come forward and you see a gap, then play into the gap. But we weren't. We couldn't even get out of our box. It was like stupid little passes.
How much of that is down to the midfield? I do want to spend. You know what? We'll come to the forward line, I guess, later on. But because there's lots of super, I do want to spend a lot of time giving Richarlison his flowers. I thought the finish for the first goal was absolutely sensational, and his second goal is a guy who's screaming full of confidence, and you love to see it. But whilst we're talking about the problems within what happened today, and I guess for what it's worth, we're reflecting on this because it's a sucker punch at the end, right? So it's taken the wind out of our sails. Had we got away with it, and it was a 2-1 victory, we'd be coming on, and I think all of us are being fairly reasonable and balanced. I don't think we're being overly critical. I think we're just highlighting the concerns that the last few performances, well, for a fair while now, have kind of have sort of shone exposed. And I think that maybe we were all hoping that. I don't want to speak for everyone here. Let me know if I'm wrong, or give me your thoughts in a second. But I think we were all hoping that once we started to get our players back, and we didn't have the excuse of horrendous amounts of injuries. Once we got Van der Ven, Romero back, once we got Bentancur back and Maddison back, that everything was going to be perfect like it was at the start of the season. But it hasn't really worked out that way thus far. Man City was a real bad disappointment. If I'm honest, Brentford I thought was, we held on there for dear life. And then today, obviously, we couldn't hold on. So, there's not that many more of our players to come back. And we can't beat a team that's going to go down in all likelihood.
I'm with
Jack.
Let
me start with Jack, Johnny, if that's all right. So I just want to go around the circle. Jack, what's your take on it? Am I completely out of the on a limb here saying that we're a little bit frustrated that we haven't been better since our better players have come back?
Oh, massively. Like you say, I think if we won 2-1 today, we'd say we showed good fight, we got over the line, and this is a change. But in reality, we're talking about a similar story. And I know it's a cliche, we talk about the mentality, but it does just seem like in those final moments, we do crumble in a sense. And from the set plays, that's the worst part. That's what you're practicing every day in training, to kind of deal with those pressure moments. And it feels like we just can't get over the line. I don't think going back to the defence, I don't think the defence is that poor. I think we take that risk going forward. Ange wants his fullbacks to kind of bomb up the field and kind of try and get that creative side. Udogie was crucial in that first goal, and I don't know if you remember, but he went on a cracking run where we could have scored another goal. So I kind of think it's the lack of conviction in front of goal that's leading us to kind of giving up chances at the back. For me, I think Romero and Van der Ven are the perfect partnership. Like you said, I do think Romero's brilliant at bringing out the ball, and I think Van der Ven is so good with his recovery pace that it works well. It's just, for me, the main thing was those final minutes, giving away silly fouls and then leading to their goals. Aerially, I still feel like we need to improve, and maybe Dragoshin will get a run because we know he's meant to be aerially dominant. Yeah,
I completely agree. James, I want to come to you now, mate, and then I'm going to bring Johnny and Sabri on the same point. Just quickly, Drew, with the super chat saying, let's get the likes up. 900 people in here and only 200 likes. Yeah, come on, guys. All you got to do is smash the like. Free to do. Really helps the channel out. That's all I ask. Super chats are wonderful from the guys who want to do it. But you don't have to do that, but just hit the like and the subscribe. And all these
must
guys.
Be Daniel Levy fans, man.
all of the description in the description. All the links for everyone is in the description. Plus, I'm putting putting them in the comment section in a second. James, to you, mate. Like I say, my question was, are we guilty a little bit of being frustrated because we were expecting a bit of a better version of ourselves since most of the injuries have been resolved, or is it still just a work in progress?
Of course, it's a work in progress. I can't remember if it was Johnny or Sava said earlier, people were saying we're going to get relegated and going way overboard. So we have to put a bit of perspective on this. If we won 2-1 today and we held on for dear life at the end, we'd be coming on here with a bit more positivity and saying, what a performance from Richarlison. I know we're going to mention him, but it's at the end of the day, we're not looking good in games. We are looking shaky, and it is that sense of, when is their goal coming? When are we going to concede a last minute goal, or when are we going to mess up? It's just, it doesn't fill me with confidence at the moment, but at the same time, we've got to build. We've got the summer to build on this team. You know, it's a free hit this year. If we get top 4, amazing. But if we get top 6, it's still back in Europa League, right? And we're progressing again.
I think we'll make top 4 comfortably. I still think we're better than the teams around us. For me, today it was more, can we actually compete with the likes of Liverpool and Man City? And I think we showed today we don't have that experience in the final lateral games. But I do think we're as good as Arsenal around us. Maybe that's naive to say, but I do think that we're still building something. We have got the quality, but we're just not quite there yet. But like you say, it's still exciting times. It's just when you come off a disappointing draw, you're going to come in with a bit of anger, but I still think we've got the quality to be right up there, just not the likes of Man City or Liverpool.
Today for me, self-harming today for me. I find it immensely frustrating. We spent a lot of money sorting this defence out, and the coaching and all the rest of it. I'm all for forward thinking, progressive tactics. I don't want to return back to the football of Mourinho and Conte, but at the same time, we've conceded 27 goals in 14 games. Only Sheffield United and Nottingham Forest have conceded more. Just take that in and think about that for a minute, okay? Cool. With 2 Bob defences, I think Forest have let in something like 28 and Sheffield United something like 30, but we are being compared to that amount of those teams. It's outrageous. We spent 40 million on Porro, 50 million on Romero, 40 odd million on Mickey van der Ven. We spent a lot of money on the defence. I do not expect us to be conceding these amount of goals, and I don't think our
quickly, Johnny, on that, mate.
Pardon?
I'm just looking at this. I don't put too much stock into expected goals, but they had 2.5 and we had less than 1.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Are we lucky to have walked away with a point?
Yeah, we didn't create. That's what I said to you before. If you took out Richarlison's 2 goals and that other effort, which I thought Pickford did a very good save, there was nothing. There was nothing at all. I don't think we were great offensively. I don't think Maddison, if you look at his Leicester record, whenever he had an injury, speaking to Leicester fans before he signed for us, when he gets injured, which we all knew it was going to happen, he normally takes 3 or 4 games to get back into the swing of it. Yeah. He needs pass protection. He's like your quarterback in American football. He needs pass protection. And with great respect, Højbjerg and nowhere near at his peak, Benton Core, we're not giving him any pass protection in that first half. Maybe if you had Basuma and Saul both fit, giving him that protection, I think, and further developed Maddison in his fitness, I think we'll see something better. But it's still woeful, in my opinion, the way the defence is conceding.
Yeah, Sean, one thing I wanted to just build on that XG thing. You brought it up and I had the exact same stats up. I've got 2.64 XG for Everton, 1.01 for us on a different site. But then you can break it down in first half and second half, right? And this is what I meant about our second half performance, is Everton in the second half had 1.5 XG and we had 0.3. And that just goes to show, I don't know if
XG isn't like this completely different then, right? So I thought XG was coming from some unified source. Does SofaScore have their own version of XG and then whatever site you've got? Because
I'm on Flash Score, so it's slightly different. But my point is, you can even see it on your stats here, right? Look how much they technically peppered us in the second half, and they only scored 1 goal. It could have been a lot more. We weren't. What Johnny's saying here, we weren't creating anything. Two great one great finish from Richarlison, good ball into the box and an amazing finish. But Richarlison's second one kind of came out of nowhere. Really, it was a long shot. Other than that, guys, please correct me if I'm wrong. I don't remember having like 1, 2, maybe 3 good chances where I thought we could score here. I can't remember.
Maddison had a great shot, which was good save. Richie had
we had 6 shots on target, right? So the 2 goals, Pedro Porro's pot shot from the right, Maddison's pot shot from the middle. I can't remember the other 2. What were the other 2?
Richie had one. Richie had 1 shot, which he saved.
There's one other we're missing then. But yeah, not much.
But what I'd love to do, Sean, I mean, maybe later for the show, is look at some of those stats earlier in the season, because I'm sure, like for example, that Burnley game, we won 5-1 or 5-2?
5-2. It was there.
We could have scored about 10 that day. And I know it's Burnley, and you could argue Burnley are a worse team than Everton. I mean, that's another argument. But I just feel like we're not creating as much as we did earlier in the season. I think that's a bit of a concern.
Yeah, Saba, what's going on with that, mate? What, do you? Yeah, sorry, take it where you want to, mate, or I can.
No. I'll jump in on that. For me, look, Sean, you know, I didn't get as excited as other people. Obviously, where I get my negative tag from. I think this is going to take a real long time to get this style of play nailed down. And I think that the first 10 games of the season kind of got everyone just a little bit too hyped that it was going to be like that week in, week out. I think teams have listen, whether they can stop us or not is a different matter, but I think teams have figured out now the best way to play against us. I think we're seeing that more and more. And for me, I think this is going to take many years to really hone this down and get us actually to being a really good, exciting football team to watch. We are, at the moment, we've got big guns compared to other teams. I was always taught growing up that big guns win your games, right? And I think that's where we'll always do well. Like we've got bigger guns than Brentford, for example, who I thought were very good against us. We've got bigger guns than Everton today, who I thought were good in the main against us. I think we're going to have to wait a while before we start seeing the football that I think everyone thinks we play. I don't think that this style of football is... People talk Ange ball. I'm not seeing what that is meant to be at the moment. What I'm seeing is a team that's very, very good in the counter-attack, very good on the transition, but I don't think we're as good as everyone thinks. Now, people will say that's negative. I just think this is going to take a while. You know, we said this at the beginning of the season, for a manager to come in, implement new tactics, get them from whatever that was under a Conte to playing a complete polar opposite way of playing football, that's going to take time. And that's why I don't watch the games and I don't go overboard about it. You know what I'm like, Sean. I don't go overboard about how we played. I thought a lot of the football, even before all those players got injured, there were games where we were chancing our luck. And unfortunately, we've just not got back into a rhythm of playing that way. I don't think the midfield's as good as everyone says. And our wingers, I'm going to call it, sorry, I know everyone lost their minds over Werner in the week. Our wingers are not good enough unless they've got space to run into. They are not good enough to beat a man from a standing still position. They're not creative enough.
Timo Werner, for me, against Brentford, was close to the man of the match. I thought he was absolutely sensational. One of the two, right? Correct. Today,
worst.
He certainly worse than Brentford.
He wasn't great.
He connected for the first goal, right? It was him and Udogie doing their thing again, and I think that's a really positive thing to see those two building chemistry, because chemistry and relationships create opportunities. Opportunities create goals. Goals win matches, right? So it all starts with those relationships. But he got put through twice when it mattered. He didn't. Oh, that was the other shot. That was the sixth shot. Oh, it was offside, so maybe it wasn't the sixth shot. It was offside anyway, but he didn't look confident enough to take it. And I think Ali McCoist on the commentary, if you were listening, said, didn't look like he had
too close to his body when he shot.
Yeah. And then the second one, when Brennan Johnson, the one good thing that I think Brennan Johnson did when he whipped that ball in, it was a delicious ball, but Timo Werner kind of tried to angle his body, but didn't really attack it. And if he did attack it, again, Ali McCoist was quite correct saying could have won a pen. Pretty disappointing performance from Timo today, guys.
It was, but I still thought Brenda Johnson.
Back to Brenda, are we?
Brenda Johnson was on the phone to his mummy, looking at his photo of his mummy on his phone. We all love our mums, right? But come on, he looks scared. Okay, I want my players to have an edge, right? You need an edge. You want to play in the Premier League. I want them to go 50-50 tackle like their life depended on it. I saw Everton players fighting for every single challenge and every single tackle. I saw him not knowing what to do. His football IQ is poor. He doesn't know when to come short. Porro at times got hold of the ball. He was looking for Johnson to use his pace to go on the outside, and he just didn't know what to do. It was pointless. And I'm sorry, I don't know whether Johnson's got pictures of Ange or something, but he came out for the second half. He put that cross in. But if you took that one moment out, what was there? And Timo, he should have cut across for that cross. And had he cut across, it would have definitely been a penalty. I feel. But come on, we're clutching at straws. You've seen that XG. There wasn't much going on. You know,
Ronnie,
Go on.
What do you think of? I know I'm not here to criticise Ange because, like you said, we're building stuff. But what do you think of the in-game management today? Because I felt like bringing on like Johnson coming out for that second half. I feel like Maddison coming off. Yes, he's coming back from an injury, but we could all see we weren't controlling that midfield. Then we had a midfield of Skip, Højbjerg, and Kulu, and I just feel like there was no one there who could retain the ball, retain possession. When you're looking to kind of close out the game, surely you want to kind of dictate the pace of the game, slow it down. We could all see Everton were getting frustrated, giving away fouls, but then because we had no one who could kind of calm, put their foot on the ball, that's what led to the self-infliction. That's what led to us giving away the fouls rather than it be the other way around. We all know
Jack,
to go for it, Jack.
Jack, this goes back, and sorry to interrupt you there. You're on a roll, but this goes back to Sava's point about we don't have a Rodri to control the game, calm it down. I know, but we have to find someone like that because the other thing I wanted to mention about Ange Ball, one of the things I wanted to mention about Ange Ball is you're meant to play with a 6, an 8, and a 10, right? But I'm sitting there at times thinking Maddison's come back as deep as the 6 to pick up the ball, and then there's no number 10. It's just. It seems a bit disconnected right now in that midfield. I can't see the balance, and I don't quite understand who plays that role.
Are we feeling it because Ben? Like, I'll be honest. Like, I absolutely love Bentancur. I think he's a phenomenal footballer. But the last couple of games, you know, he was hooked at half time against Brentford. He was hooked at half. Was he hooked today at half time, or was it just afterwards?
64th for Star,
60th minute, and I thought he was. I can't remember Man City, but I think he had he was terrible at Man City as well, right? So I feel like is he struggling to recover from his injury? Is it just a little dip in form? Because I think when you don't have Papsar and then you're looking for the 6 or someone in that 6 or 8 to be able to do that Rodri thing that Sav was talking about. I know no one's going to be at Rodri level, but someone who can control the tempo of the game. If we got more Rodri off it, then it's a problem, right?
Yeah, my only worry is that maybe Bentancur before was kind of that man who would grab the game and look kind of for those passes and be someone who's comfortable in possession. Now we've got Maddison back. Everyone knows Maddison is the man we look to for that creative spark and kind of that composure on the ball. Maybe my worry is that Bentancur is kind of not occupying the same positions and he's not as comfortable in the 6. It feels like they haven't kind of got that synergy yet, and I'm hoping that will come with time because we all want to see a midfield three really of Basuma, Maddison and Bentancur, but right now it feels like they're almost getting in each other's way and kind of Bentancur doesn't feel kind of as comfortable in that deep line playmaker position. So that's my only worry, where it's like, is Bentancur trying to get in Maddison's space and they're trying to do the same role in reality, where you want Bentancur to be deep lying and you want Maddison kind of be next to the forwards.
Yeah, look, I think there's a lot of question marks for me in that midfield at the moment. I completely empathise with Sava's point and agree with him that the top end of the pitch it's struggling. I think that even against Brentford, there was 7 minutes of absolutely free-flowing, terrifying football, but surrounded by 83 minutes plus injury time of not enough output. But the midfield is supposed to be the control room, and it's not really controlling anything at the moment. Saba,
Sean, one of the things I would say is what we've done, I think by design, is we've bought a lot of footballers that are reactionary. I mean, a lot of the players that we've got are like, you remember like those noise-activated plants? Do you remember them? If you talk,
flowers.
Right, do you remember? Right, that's what we've bought. Even when you look at Solomon, Brennan Johnson, Werner, these are all quick players that, when they get the ball, flashes of moments. But when you look at the top teams, when you look at their forwards that they've got, they're all very comfortable in possession of the football. So if you look at Cities, all of them are all very, very comfortable. The Grealishes, the Fodens, the Silvers. When they've got the ball, it's not done at 100 miles per hour.
And they're always moving, right? Even when they don't have the ball, they're always moving, so that they're not like Brennan Johnson today is a statue until the ball is past him, and then oftentimes he's not even paying attention enough to know what get on the same wavelength as the receiver, as the passer.
They're what I call, Sean, sometimes players and straight line players. If you watch Brennan Johnson and Timo Werner, they snap into play when the ball comes to them and they go in a straight line and you kind of know what they're going to do and defenders know what they're going to do. Now with Werner, it's more difficult to stop because he's so quick. Brennan Johnson, if you're a left back, I want to play against Brennan Johnson all game, every game, right? If I'm a left back, I love playing against a player like Brennan Johnson because you know what he's going to do.
Just shout at him, Sava. Just shout
well,
at him.
But for me, we need more technical. I think we need to get a couple of forwards that we need to stop worrying so much about pace. We've got pace in the team. I think we need more technical capability. That, like, look at Jack Grealish, right? Whether you love him, whether you hate him, whether you want to talk about his goals, his assists. When City put a ball up the field to Jack Grealish, look how he holds onto the football. Yeah. That ball doesn't come bouncing straight back to City's defence. He gets the ball.
He makes the right decisions. He's got that
right.
I agree.
Exactly.
And I think Johnson and our wingers right now, when you're saying they're always doing the same thing, Johnson today kind of had a few balls over the top and he just run in a straight line. You want someone who's kind of going to drop the shoulder and you don't know what they're going to do. With Grealish and Bernardo Silva and those
Perisic was like that. Perisic used to be you could get the ball to him, he would be an option, he could hold on to the ball. He also had that cadence of his step overs and unpredictable when he was going to go left to the byline or cut back in. With Decky, you know it's probably going to be a cutback. And with Johnson, it's also much the same, right? So they've got a couple of super chats, guys. Let me just press pause on the conversation for a split second to catch up with them. The Spurs acolyte, thank you very much, mate, says, Ange needs to learn from Emery. When your initial philosophy doesn't work, you have to change your tactics to adapt to the opponent and change the game. James, I'll ask you on this one, mate. Are we guilty of thinking that because Ange has said things like, you know, we never stop and it's who we are, mate, are we overlooking tactical adaptations like he does? I think that I've noticed things change at half times during game, but for me, I wonder whether the issue is the players are forcing themselves into doing things rather than and behaving a certain way rather than having that on-field intelligence of adapting themselves in the moment. Like, why does it have to take until half time to be reminded to do something at the corner kicks or to switch it up? Why can't the players be communicating amongst themselves? I don't know if that makes sense, James.
No, I do kind of see where you're coming from, and I get this point because I feel like we switch up our tactics at the wrong moments at the moment. For example, I feel like we were playing this high line for most of the game today, and then suddenly we were playing quite deep, soaking it all up, and it was just like Everton were just coming at us, getting balls in the box. They had 2 penalty claims, didn't they? Where you're thinking that, you know, a couple of touches on the player, and that is a penalty. I mean, none of them were penalties, but what I'm saying is they were getting into the box much more, and throughout the 60, 65, 70 minutes, they weren't getting near us because we were playing such a high line. They were booting balls up from indirect free kicks. We were playing them offside. It's like, I don't understand why we changed the tactic at other points in the game where we shouldn't. I don't know if I'm making sense, but I feel like we do mix up our tactics, but at the complete wrong moments, which then messes us over. And then that links to the changes in games. I mean, some of the changes today, Jack was mentioning earlier, I don't think we did ourselves any favours with them. But I can completely see where this super chat's going. I think maybe you could argue that Ange is religious to this style of football, and you know he won't change it until something seriously bad goes wrong, right?
It's arrogant.
Yeah.
Does that not verge on, you know, arrogance in some respects?
I think Ange is stubborn. He's certainly stubborn. I was talking to this guy Ozzy Guna, who's on Never a Foul, and he's Australian guy, obviously. He's followed Ange's career very closely, and he kind of summarizes Ange very well when he says, the guy is he's brilliant what he does, gives you everything you want, gives you the exciting football, but he's pig-headed in his approach, and he doesn't want to change, doesn't really want to kind of pivot or pivot, or sort of drift away from the structure. And I think I tolerate the lack of flexibility because the football, like plan A, is so exciting generally, or it's supposed to be, that I'm more tolerant of inflexibility or lack of sort of diversity in that regard than I would be for someone like Conte, who was also incredibly stubborn but played ugly football and defensive football. So
I'd rather have that, but would you not prefer him to come out with this honest Ange right, to come out and say, guys, look, we're not getting it right defensively. There's a lot to work on. I'd prefer if he addressed the elephant in the room as opposed to sweeping it under the carpet like there is no issue, because there is an issue. I just said to you before, 27 goals conceded in 14 games. Eight goals conceded in the 90th minute, and there could have been a lot more. It's cost.
Is it concentration?
It's concentration. It's tactics. Game management, in-game management. Jack alluded to it before. It's like you don't see Arsenal of old, like when they're 1-0 up, or Liverpool, like some of the good teams. They hold on to the thing. They hold on to the ball, and manage those last few minutes. I can understand it happening once in a while, but not consistently happening.
Johnny,
that's not even including the Man City game, or what about the Burnley game in the last few minutes, where it took a 97th minute block by Højbjerg to stop us having a draw and going back to Burnley. It's eat, sleep, repeat, and nothing is changing, and that's what I have an issue with.
Do you not think he's persevering with these tactics? This is the only point I'll give him, because he feels like it hasn't clicked yet. We saw at the start, it was the unpredictability that kind of threw off teams and why we were on such a hot run of form. But now we're kind of getting figured out. It's kind of showing that we still don't understand the positions completely. So do you feel like Angie's saying, right, well, we need to stick to this, so when it's good, it's very good. And if he kind of changes it, the in-game management, and kind of changes how we play and kind of slowing down possession, he feels like we'll never quite fully get there because there's so many things to learn. I feel like maybe he's trying to really stick to his guns, so when he gets the football that he wants, it'll be really good. And he feels like he can't change it yet because not everyone fully understands it, so he doesn't have that tactical flexibility.
Do you think the players believe it? Because to me, it's almost a self-boding that it's coming. Right?
No, I think the players love playing this football. I think, Jack, I think you're onto a really.
I'm not talking about offensively, Sean. I'm talking about this last 10 minutes. Is it has it become psychological?
Well, it could also be. We spoke about this on the last match show. I think the stamina, like the game is tiring for the player. I know you didn't agree with me last time. It sounds like you don't agree with me this time either, Johnny.
I do. No, I do. I think the game. I do.
I think the stamina is a. I think this particular version of football, for certain players, I think Richarlison, for example, was out on his arse at the end of the game because he ran himself into the ground, and he was brilliant. Still haven't actually spent time talking about him. I think players like Udogie and Pedro Porro also are shattered. But I was hoping that when you improve the level of the bench and you get the players back, some of the players that can come off the bench are going to then step up, stand up, and see the game out. But players like Kulusevski today didn't do that. And I feel, when they come on the bench, off the bench, you feel like they're going to be smarter. But I didn't think there was much intelligence. And I think this is going to Anthony Grimer's super chat here. I hope we've discussed this for you, Anthony. But Savra, I do want to come to you on this one just quickly. Do you think that the on-game intelligence is up there? And is Jack's point actually bang on the money? Everywhere he's gone, and just said it takes a while for the players to get it. And so maybe at Tottenham, we're all guilty of thinking that we got it by game 12, and now we're just regressing.
I completely agree with Jack. I really, really do agree with everything you said, Jack. I think at the end of the day, this is his style of play. You always say, Sean, the bitter with the better. Yeah? You can only do so much with the quality you have. Right? That's my point. I think this style of play is brilliant. Yeah, when it works. When it doesn't work, it looks terrible. I don't think there's a middle ground with this 100 miles per hour style of football. Better players know how to play this better and will make it look better. That's just natural, right? That's just natural. That's why the teams with the better players control games and win things. So for me, it's going to take time. And this is why when I was completely lambasted, as you know, Sean, like after 10, 12 games, I was saying to everyone, calm down. We're not winning a league. Relax. It's year one. It's good, but you're going to have ups and you're going to have downs. And today we saw, listen, it was a point away. It's not the end of the world, but we saw today, and I think large parts of Brentford and Brighton, you saw that it is going to take time for some of these players to adapt to it. Some of them will, some of them won't. Some of them aren't good enough to do what we want them to do. So when we say things like, just give them time, not all the players are capable of playing this style of football. Yeah, I think we've got to take that in mind, which is why I'm always saying in the windows, sprinkle it. You've got to buy 2 or 3 quality players that come in, are technically, tactically, and IQ is better than what we've got. So I think it's going to take time. But, you know, I'm seeing people get really frustrated with Ange. Listen, I think it's going to take time. We're 4th in the league. It's not the end of the world, but it is concerning for me that I can't really remember the last time it was good. If we're brutally honest, since the Newcastle game,
right? Newcastle.
You what? Sorry.
Yeah, Newcastle was the last time everything clicked.
Yeah. Since the Newcastle game, it's just been a bit.
By the way,
with half their players missing.
Yeah. So it will take time. I think it will take
time.
time.
Is that the question? I think you guys are all saying very, very logical things. James, the first 10, 12 games, obviously, we came out of the traps this season and we're doing brilliant things. Then obviously expectations got reset. And some, you know, as fans, you're going to go up and down. You're going to be emotional after the game. Jack and Sav are making the point that it's going to take time. But there was also that kind of that question, I guess, of, you know, have the players, if we're going to go down the path and say the players haven't necessarily figured this out yet, haven't mastered the system, and nor should you expect them to. But in the first 12 games of the season, none of the other teams around us knew what to expect, and we bamboozled them and beat them comfortably. Then people started to catch up a little bit. And so I always ask the question, like, it's a race. It's a little bit of a race to see whether or not the gap closes between other teams' understanding of how to combat Ange Ball or Tottenham versus our ability to improve to the next level, the next version of it. And do you feel like, if you agree with that, and do you feel like at the moment the gap is closing between the other teams' understanding of it more than we're able to improve and sort of keep away from their ability to combat it, if that makes sense? A bit of a ramble question, but I hope that makes sense.
I do agree. Of course, teams are figuring us out as the season goes on. Like the teams that we beat earlier in the season, when we eventually play them in the reverse fixture, it'll be interesting to see the differences in performance and score lines, right? But at the same time, I think there needs to be that adaptability of changing tactics during games, and actually, you know, when we are having those rough periods in games, we have to have a plan B. Because if we only have a plan A and every team figures out our plan A, we're gonna have games like today where we come out really frustrated. And I do think overall in the fan base has been a bit of a overreaction today. But having said that, when you take a step back, you look at it, it's been 2 months since we played Newcastle, and we came away and we went, wow, we won 4-0 today. We were absolute mustard. You know, we didn't look like we were ever losing, or even, you know, it was 4-0, not 4-1. I can't remember, but, you know, we battered Newcastle that day.
4-1, I think. I think they scored a consolation.
Maybe they scored a consolation, which goes with the both teams to score thing. But, you know, at the end of the day, that was one of the games where we came out and were like, we didn't have to worry at the end of the game. Even when I went to the New Year's Eve game against Bournemouth, and we went 3-0 up, right? We then conceded, and we spent the last 10, 15 minutes with our backs to the wall, like defending in no high line, deep as anything. And I'm sat there thinking, like, I felt a bit subdued at the end of the game, because it's like we battered I say we battered them, but we went 3-0 up, but then we've got our backs to the wall, and we're thinking, Jesus, this might go 3-2, and then we will be in, you know, bottle land or whatever. It's just like, I don't know. I feel like we need a bit of a plan B and even a plan C, and Ange has to act quickly to sort that.
I've just seen Sky's man of the match. Who do you think?
Richarlison, yeah?
No.
Oh, go on.
Braithwaite. Told you.
Oh, whatever. Ridiculous. That's ridiculous. That's
Really?
People think we're reactionary. That's reactionary. I just want to quickly get through a couple of super chats because we're talking about plan Bs or options. Pete, shout out to Pete. He says, whatever the question is, Royale is not the answer. So plan B in Pete's mind does not include Emerson Royal. A little
Listen,
bit harsh,
just
but I
blame
do
him.
know
He's
how
not
you
even
feel.
playing. He's not even playing. I mean, it's pathetic. This fan base. I'm sorry.
I like Emerson Royale. I don't know where he
Pete,
gets the slander. I think
Pete,
it's
Pete,
ridiculous.
Pete,
He's a far more. He's an adequate backup right back. I'm not saying he should start every week, but
Jack, but this is it, Jack. It's the levels. You can't. On one half, you've got the fan base saying we're going to win titles and we should be pushing to win things, and on the other half, we're talking about players like Emerson Royal.
it's not even that. No, Sam, I hear your point.
He should be nowhere near this club. He should be nowhere near a team that wants to win
You really
things.
think so, though? Have
Oh,
you seen
no,
any
he's
performance
good.
from him
I
this
like
season?
him.
I like Emerson Royale. I think he's defensively more than capable.
Sure.
I think
I
depends
also
on
like not winning trophies. There you go.
what Emerson
All
Royale.
right,
You
well,
got
then
the reason we're not winning trophies is because Emerson Royale's
No. But Jack, it's not one player. It's not Emerson Royal.
Yeah.
The problem is somebody in the chat just now put in a brilliant point. I can't remember who it was. And they said the problem with Spurs, we've got too many players who you don't know what you're going to get each week. And I think that sums it up completely. You've got too many players.
That's a fair point.
Too
Inconsistency.
many that hit and miss. And he, for me, just not just him. I know he's not in the team. I'm not blaming him for anything. Listen, that he'll go at some point. He will go. You know he will. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
well, I think now
agree
you've got
with
Dragusin. I don't really know where he's going to get minutes, right? Because Pedro Porro starts every game, and then if he has to come off, Dragusin or someone else comes on. So I think Emerson Royale is going to find himself back down on the bench most of the time, unless there is an injury again, which isn't.
So there's an
enough
injury.
rotation.
So there's an injury. You've got a player that's played at left back, has played at right back, and has played at centre back all season. And even when he doesn't play, and he's sat on the bench, he gets grief. Pathetic. I'm sorry, guys. Absolutely pathetic. He ain't. Look, I'm not saying he's a well beater, but come on. Let's get real here,
Johnny.
right?
Johnny,
I like
Johnny.
Emerson. I like Emerson. I think he feels
Levels,
a
isn't
valuable
it?
role in the squad. He feels
Levels
a
and
valuable role in the
ambition.
squad.
Levels and
Johnny,
ambition.
can I just say, you said about...
I don't think you're going to have too many João Cancelos on the bench at where the level Tottenham are at right now. I don't think that there's that. Like, if you're Manchester City, you can go and get a replacement right back who's happy to play 30% of minutes because he knows he's going to win a trophy or two every single season. Tottenham don't have that to offer. So if you want to go and get a competitive right back, he's going to demand minutes. And I just don't think that, that Tottenham can offer them. So if you're going to have someone who's a utility player,
priority problems than Emerson Royale. That's my point. I think that we'd
well.
need another left back. We'd need another midfielder. We'd need but like you say, a sprinkler Stardust in the forward line before we address a backup right back who really hasn't done much wrong. He's filled in at centre half, played brilliant against Man City. He's played left back, and he's played right back. I feel like he's the new Ben Davies being scapegoated.
I mean, let's be honest.
Hang on. No one's scapegoating him for anything.
He's not even playing. I don't know why we're getting angry.
I'm told I'm negative for wanting better footballers at my football club than Emerson Royale. I'm sorry. Emerson Royale is a decent.
But is it realistic? Is it realistic to think that you can get a better player who's a utility player, who's the 24th, 25th man in the squad, who's also happy to be here and participate and not get the minutes?
Yes, of course it is. How does City and Liverpool do it?
Because City and Liverpool can guarantee trophies. Tottenham can't.
But here we are.
But if you want to get to that level, Sean, it's our. I don't understand sometimes what we want as fans. Like we keep talking about.
No, I'm saying I listen. If you can go and get a right back who's only going to play 10% of the minutes in a season, unless there are injuries. But if you can go and get a right back to do that at Tottenham that is as good as Pedro Porro, then fine. But I don't know if
why are we talking about him? Why are we having this discussion? We just
because there's a super chat.
The guy, I know, but this is our fan base who are talking about. We've just drew a game, we've thrown it away, and we're talking about Emerson Royal, who didn't even come on. You're right, Johnny. Because we can talk about that during the week. Oliveri Scipione, right? Okay, he comes on, can't hold on to the ball. As Sava said, we had a midfield of Højbjerg, Skip. I mean, yeah, and you wonder why you weren't holding on. If I'm just telling you, if Decore and Onana and Gomez were playing today, we'd have lost that game. I have no doubt.
No, I'll tell you what, when we would have lost that game, if Van der Ven wasn't playing, that's where we would have lost that game.
I agree.
100%.
I agree. There you go. We all agree. We'll move on from Emerson Royal, but good cheeky super chat, Pete. Always
going.
something to spice it up.
Got
Frankly,
us going.
Tottenham,
To be
big
fair,
up,
though,
Frank. Hope you're
quickly,
okay,
just
my
quickly.
man.
Johnny
Go on.
Johnny said about Johnson must have pictures of Ange. I reckon Emerson has pictures of Johnny. He's very defensive on him there.
Listen, the one player I've stood by is Richarlison. I've been telling everybody since the World Cup that he's carrying an injury. No one's interested. He's shit. That's the end of it, right? And no one was interested. I understand that because as fans, we're only interested in the now. We're not interested in the reason why they're not performing.
Well, I don't particularly rate him I've never rated him. Not since he's been at Tottenham. I've never rated him as a player at Everton or at Watford.
But that's fine. But he was playing at Watford and at Everton with inferior players. He hasn't played.
And he was terrible all last season, right? Let's not rewrite history about him. He was awful all last season as well.
But listen, hang on, Sean, right? When he came back from that World Cup, he got the injury at the World Cup. He's carried that injury since the World Cup, okay? He got treatment for it in the summer. It reoccurred. They said they didn't want to have the operation. He's had the op. I can only deal in the now. If you
listen, he's doing brilliant. He's doing brilliantly right now, right? He's 9 goals in 8 games, like the most informed striker in the Premier League. Hats off. I'm so glad, and he looks like a player that's full of confidence. For 2 games running, he's taking pot shots from 25 yards. Sensational stuff. Absolutely not a criticism in the world. His work rate as well over the last 3 or 4 games. The one, even though I've always said I don't particularly rate the player, at the start of the season, I was adamant that he would fit Angie's system, playing that sacrificial lamb that the 9 requires, and he's done very, very well. So, absolutely no. I'm delighted. I'm delighted that he's putting me in the mud for my take on him. Generally, I couldn't be more happy that he's scoring goals, and he looks like a reinvented, a player that's reborn. So wonderful stuff. And Johnny, you have defended him for the last 18 months, so fair play to you, mate. You stood by your man. Stand by your man.
Well, listen, look at the players he played with in Brazil. So we hear, right? Oh, he's only good because he's playing with Neymar and so forth. Yeah, of course. But he's been playing at Watford and he's played at Everton, with inferior players. And, a fit Richarlison with decent support and decent players. I think he's only going to get better, personally, when Maddison hits those first-time passes, which Richarlison has been making the runs. But, yeah, he's been offside all the time because the bloody pass is delayed too often. But let's see anyway. It's one of 2. There was 2 positives today. Mickey van der Ven and Richarlison.
Yeah.
For me, that was it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd agree. Let me get to these super chats, guys, because I've been trying to get to them for a while. Frank is here saying, big up Frank, says, in my opinion, if we dropped our shape 10 yards, it would help us. Vicario needs protection on corners. Bergval looks like a serious baller. I'd play him in the 8. Options with this kid and his future. Yeah, I'll reverse engineer this one, mate. Bergval, look, I don't know. I've looked at him I've finally got around to looking at him in the Y Scout, and he's very, very, very impressive. There's areas to his game that he needs to work on, and I don't know what the Swedish league standard is like, so I don't know how easy it is to kind of gauge, but he looks fantastic, and I think he'll be on the bench hopefully next season, and we'll see what happens. Looking forward to it. In terms of the Vicario needs protection, 100%. We've spoken about this, mate. The team need to protect him. Someone needs to figure out who's going to come away from the zonal marking and get onto the player that's disrupting him. And in terms of the dropping 10 yards, I'm not sure 10 yards is necessary, but certainly on free kicks, it annoys me when we're standing 8 yards out or 5-6 yards outside of the 18-yard box. No other team defends that high, and it constantly causes problems. I don't know why we're doing it when Tottenham are at our weakest against set pieces, and giving all that space between the goalie and the defensive line encourages the problem. It's a silly thing. I think that should be trained out of it. In terms of the actual in open play, I don't think we are going to drop back, because then you kind of negate the whole purpose of the press. So, but I really appreciate the super chat, my man. Really do. Next up is from Grandmaster Hinky. Says the goals against came during the period when we had 10 players out with injury. We have to let the squad mesh more as these players are returning.
Hang on.
We're conceding 2 goals every game at the moment with Van der Ven, Romero, Porro, and Adobe. Yeah. So that's not
100%.
Not strictly true, is it?
But no, 14 games. In case you missed it, Grandmaster Hinky.
Yeah.
27 goals conceded in 14 games. Okay, third.
Is that
worst
across all
in the-
competitions?
Pardon?
Is that across all comps or is that the Premier League?
What competitions are we in, Sean?
We're not.
No, I
in
mean, I'm just including. Oh, yeah, it's only the Premier League. It's only the FA Cup. The worst. Yeah.
We're playing the least. We're playing the least amount of games
True.
that Tottenham have played since 2005, and the least amount of football than any club in the top 6 leagues of English football. And we're knackered. Come on.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I hear you. Thank
Johnny,
you for
this
the
is
super
why
chat, Grandmaster.
Just quickly before you go to this one, Sean, Johnny, this is why I keep saying it, right? When I hear people say, oh, we need 1 or 2 players in, for next year, we will have Europe, right? Playing this style and playing an extra maybe 15 games more in Europe and in the Cups, we need depth. In the summer, we have got to add.
You can still only have 25 members in the squad, though, right? Which worries me because if you do get injuries, and you are, doesn't matter whether you have 25 world-class players. If this system, we're never going to have that. But even if you do, if you then have 8 injuries like we did this season, we won't be able to play this style of football if you don't have, because it's just too taxing.
Sean, can you imagine if we'd had Europe this year?
Yeah, we'd be 10th.
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky,
do you know what I mean? So I think there's a lot but that's what I say. Everyone, we've got to relax. We've got to relax. I think we're punching above our weight a little bit. We've got to relax. Next year, for me, is the big test. Next year is the test when it's mainly his squad. They've all had a year to learn his style of play. He's had 2 summers and a January. That's the test. This year, we said at the beginning of the year, guys, right? Ups and downs. There's going to be ups and downs.
Yeah, 100%.
Danny Dragusin Kyriakou in the house.
Yeah. He's saying Ange will keep playing the same tactics until he has a squad full of his players. This is also a young squad now, so a lot of learning is required. Thank you, Danny. Yeah, I think we just covered that. I think he has got to get the last pieces of the puzzle into his squad, but he has got a lot of his players now. But I think that there's just that gap. I said this, I think, on Wednesday as well. I think that there is this, like, the debate of how much of the gap in between where we are and where we want to be is down to time with the players we currently have, or the lack of quality in the depth of the squad. And I think for me, it's about 70% more experience of the system and 30% improving on the squad.
And even then, Sean, so I need to jump in a minute, but just really, really quickly, even then, I think that people are going to have to understand from where we are right now to go to the next level, that is not going to be an easy thing to do, because the next level you're talking about
the hardest gap to close
is City and Liverpool.
Yeah, exactly.
So, next year...
And they're not slowing down, are they? Ange said that, right? They're not. It's like going on a motorway and you've got a car that's going 100 miles an hour and you're 2 miles behind them and you're trying to catch them up. You've got to go 120 miles an hour to just slightly close the gap, which is...
Exactly. But that's why
very, very
you
difficult.
might see drastic improvements from last year, but next year the improvement is going to be really, really tough, because if we do finish 3rd or 4th, it's a big jump. But listen, thanks for having me, mate. I've really got to jump. Much love.
Cheers, Sava. I'll make sure I plug you
really
at the end of the show, mate. Thanks, buddy. Take care, mate. Grandmaster, I think you come back in. Another one saying, I think managers are catching up on the system, but I think the players, their mentality and lack of physicality have been found out more. Yeah, I think it's a combo. Like, I think we covered this a little bit earlier, mate. I think that for me, I think that there is the start of the season when we had all that success, no one really knew what we were doing. I think that gap has definitely closed, but now we need to kick on to another level. And over the last few games, it hasn't really sort of looked too impressive, if we're entirely honest. But I appreciate the super chats. Joey's come back in saying, Royal, good utility squad player. Johnny in, Sava out. Well, Sava's just left.
He's left the building.
Sava's just left. So yeah, you got your wish there, Jory. I'm glad. If he was, I hadn't seen you said that. If he was still on the show when I brought that up, then maybe I wouldn't have done. Big up to you, Jory. And Ben Mitchell is saying, isn't the Vicario needs to be stronger a little unfair? If a defender did to an attacker what they do to him, it would be a penalty. Is the I'm not criticizing Vicario at all. I think some people in the chat were saying, I think Brian Timlin was saying that if it was Schmeichel that was getting that sort of treatment, he'd be shoving them right back and knees in the back and all that sort of thing. I think it's an interesting point from Brian Timlin, and I think that Ben's bringing up another point. I personally don't know if it's the strength of Vicario, but I've got no problems with Vicario. He's the best goalkeeper we've had since Lloris of 5-6 years ago.
Tell me something, Sean.
Yeah, go on.
Are we going to see Right, we'll watch Liverpool versus Arsenal tomorrow, right?
Mm.
Let's see what happens when an attacker like a Darwin Núñez goes in and starts pushing Raya. Let's see if there's the same, the same referee.
I don't really think that. Are you suggesting that there was fouls? You think there was a lot of fouling going on?
No,
of the keeper
I
tonight?
thought that first one.
It was fine, right? Vicario just flopped at it and didn't.
No. I'm not having that. I don't listen.
Don't you think the defenders need to step in there? Don't you think Romero needs to go?
No, 100%. No, 100%. But I'm saying I thought that first one, Jack Harrison made absolutely no attempt to play the ball. He never even jumped. He just backed in. And then when the goal went in, you saw him laughing like this to Calvert-Lewin.
Oh, I think that was more around who got the last touch on the ball from what I saw. I don't know if there's any, like, if you're holding the goalkeeper or like keeping his arms down, that sort of thing, then it's a foul. But if you're just standing your ground,
he didn't know.
It's the shove and the sort of.
It's a fine line, isn't it? It can go either way. I think we've seen referee decisions this season that have gone either way, and I feel like they're kind of getting away with it more. I think the way you combat it is by beating Vicario stepping out and pushing them out, because we all know goalkeepers don't get as much protection now, but you never really see goalkeepers giving away fouls or penalties. So I think it's just something that's got to be worked on. Vicario's got to show his strength, and you've got to get Romero to get into him as well, because now it's about learning from that. That you're going to get targeted in the next game, and people are going to keep putting it on Vicario because we can see he might be vulnerable at it. So
they've learned nothing, though.
How are we going to combat it? Sorry,
is
John,
that a problem, though?
They've learned nothing. So, Sean, I mean, look, they did it at Man City. They tried it against Brentford, and they tried it. They tried
right,
it.
But we play the zonal marking, right? We use zonal marking because we're not obviously good enough to do man marking or whatever. We do zonal marking, and obviously, I think that's. No, I'm not a coach, so someone who might be a coach can tell me if I'm talking absolute waffle. But if you play zonal marking, everyone's got to stay in their one single solo position, right? And handle your area. And if you're asking one person then to step away from the zonal to then protect the goalkeeper from Jack Harrison, then doesn't that leave a zone unmarked, uncovered, and therefore you have another weakness that you're exposing yourself to?
It does. I guess it's like the risk and reward thing. Are we going to create more problems by doing the zonal marking in the long run? And are they going to keep exploiting Vicario? It just depends. Like the coaches, I'm not going to sit here and claim to be a zonal marking expert. It just depends. Like we saw today, Everton, when they changed their system, they didn't actually go on Vicario. They got so much success with it, but then in a couple of corners, they actually stood off Vicario, and that's when he easily caught the ball. So I'm just worried in future games that teams are going to see that and be like, we're going to do this every corner, and let's just hope we figure it out.
I don't know. I've come out from this game today. If you saw what I was predicting before the game, that it would be a really physical game, and I felt it was a mistake to play Johnson, and we would really have to be up for it. I just think that you've seen what's happening, and as you said, Jack, stop it from happening. Stop it from happening. You should learn by now. We're a very young squad. And as James said, we're still learning, we're still evolving, but there's no excuses for the same thing happening. I always say, it's fine to make mistakes, right? Life is about mistakes, right? We learn from our mistakes, but to keep doing it over and over again, and we're doing it with conceding goals, we're definitely now going to have a situation where every team that we play is going to try and exploit it. You can see Ferguson been starting for Brighton next week, and he's going to be right on him. Let's see what happens. But
do you feel like the only thing, and I definitely think it's a fair point, us all saying that we need to go over the line, and this is why we're not going to be right up there. But in fairness to Everton, do you not think they did play really well today, and they kind of exploited our weaknesses?
Yeah, and
they
tactical outclassing, I'd say.
I do
for the
think
fourth, fifth game running.
It's a hard place to go. I think a lot of teams have struggled against them this season. Without the 10-point deduction, they would have been a lot higher up the table. Yes, they've not been on the greatest run of form recently, but they went on a 7-match unbeaten run, and we were the team to stop them. So I think, in fairness, Everton have kind of got the bit between their teeth this season, and Sean Dyche has worked well with what he's got, and it was a hard place to go. But at the same time, we have a right to criticise, and we should have got the job over the line. But I'm just saying, realistically, I don't think they're as a bad team as we might think.
No,
But you know what,
100%. I think Everton deserve a lot of credit. I think that there's no easy games in the Premier League, and I think we've seen this season that all the big teams can drop points on their day, whether home or away, to teams that are, on paper at least, lesser. What I would say though, guys, is that I've lost count of the amount of times in the last 2 months where I would say I've said tactical masterclass from opposition managers. Unai Emery did it. David Moyes did it. I think Thomas Frank put in a tactical masterclass against Tottenham, even though they didn't come out on the right end of the result. I think they set them up perfectly. I think Sean Dyche got us sucked into his style of play today. Pep Guardiola clearly was the guy who identified Vicario as a target, in and around the corners. I think that Ange is now playing at the highest level, managing at the highest level, and I think he is coming up against coaches who he hasn't come up against before, and so he is going to also. And I've got no doubts he will be able to improve because I think he is a tactical. I think he's brilliant, but he is now managing at the highest level, and other managers are savvy, wily, smart, and will identify vulnerabilities in our system and exploit them. And it's up to us to be able to combat that. James, have you got any takes on that, mate?
Sorry, I was just going to say, were those games you just mentioned against Brentford, West Ham, were they tactical masterclasses or were they obvious ways of combating Ange ball? That's the question.
Either way, whatever you want to call it. I think David Moyes was a tactical. West Ham was a tactical masterclass. De Zerbi to completely bypass the midfield and go into the channel, something that Brighton don't usually do. They did against us to combat the obvious overload. Very, very smart. I think that there has been moments, a lot of moments recently where I've come away thinking these managers are figuring us out. And maybe we've got just enough qualities to get through it on the day. Maybe we don't. There's moments where we have and haven't. But it's not as simple as it is as it probably was at Celtic for Ange, because he not only has the best squad in that situation, but he also has a weaker caliber, possibly, without being disrespectful, of opposition.
What do you mean, mate? Dave Mackay's a great manager. No, I'm joking.
I mean, James.
Shout out to Mr. Mackay.
I think James is right. Is it really a tactical masterclass, right? Okay, I used to manage kids football every week, but I'm not the level of these guys. And I'm sitting here and I'm looking and I'm thinking to myself, this is a glaring, flashing neon sign. Expose here, expose there. The space behind Johnson is a gaping hole, right? Exploits it again and again. We've done nothing, in my opinion. Andrew's done nothing to change this position and this situation, and it's been magnified by having Sarr and Basuma missing, and having Oliver Scipione and Højbjerg and a not fit Bentancur trying to cover that space. He's not said, right, you know what, I'll press an extra one into the midfield, or I'll change it around a bit. He hasn't done anything to really change the system. I don't see in-game changes. I don't see anything that says to me, this guy is a tactical genius. Yes, he has a very exciting system. Do I prefer to watch this? I would rather watch us lose like this than watch Conte ball, where we sit camped
100%. 100%. Yeah, I still love it. I still love it. I still love watching the football. It was a great game today. A great game of football, to be honest. For a neutral, yeah. Obviously, you'd rather it be easier, but for a neutral, I thought it was a fantastic game. And Tottenham are the most watchable team in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Every single game there's no such thing as a boring game of football for Tottenham. Some of them are very frustrating as a Tottenham fan, but there's nothing boring about them.
And that's what we wanted, wasn't it, Sean? That's what we were craving.
100% what I want. I wouldn't change this I wouldn't change so many things. I wouldn't change Udogie for any other left back in the league. I know he's still vulnerable and learning, right? But for me, I wouldn't change him for anybody. I wouldn't change Pedro Porro for anybody. Not even Trent Alexander-Arnold. Genuinely, I think I love Porro. I wouldn't change Van der Ven or Romero. I'm happy with our back four. I love James Maddison. On his day, I love Pape Sarr. I love Bentancur on his day. I think he's extraordinary. I'm happy with so much, and so that's why I'm like, when after the game you're emotional and you want to, especially when you lose it that way and you're frustrated, you have to analyze and critique. But ultimately, I'm so very, very happy with where Tottenham are at. I just think we've still got a long way to go before we get to the place where we can genuinely compete.
We're collecting wingers, and I don't feel that any of them at the moment are impacting and doing what I feel like I want them to do. You know what? I have a really funny feeling that I don't want to talk about that funny feeling, but I've got a funny feeling that Manor Solomon could actually be one of the players. I mean, we've forgotten about him, who could actually affect results and get us results. I don't know why. I don't know if it's his low centre of gravity and his ability to take players on, but I think he could be one of the more effective players if he can get back and over this injury, because he's regressed again and out for about another month.
At the moment, we are lacking, just to build on Johnny's point, at the moment, we are lacking a one-on-one winger. Because without Son, who doesn't beat his man as much as he used to, but without Son, you look around those wingers, even the ones that come off the bench are Brian Hill, right? And you don't think, do you know what? He can come on, beat one or two men and put a ball in the box. Johnson doesn't seem to do it. Werner does it occasionally, and I'm not going to get on his back too much because he did it well against Man United. But other than those sort of moments, you don't look at our wingers and think, bloody hell, they can get a ball in the box.
Manor Solomon can offer something like that when he comes back, but we haven't seen enough of him to know. But that's sort of one of the things.
Well, the Burnley game was probably an indicator of that, with his pace and his great passing for two of the goals.
And you know what? In the absence of it, I've got absolutely no problems at all during the game to have some fluidity where James Maddison steps out onto the left-hand side and let someone else come in more central, because he is someone that can take players on. He has got that unbelievable creative technicality with his feet. I don't see why he couldn't, whilst we're waiting to get those final pieces in the summer. But I completely agree with you, James, 100%. Guys, listen, I just want to quickly say, Rob, thank you very much for becoming a new member or a renewed member. I think it's a renewed member.
Is that really Thomas's brother? Is that Thomas's
brother? Yeah, you got a tactical masterclass in the family. And Grandmaster Inky's come back in with another one. He's having a crack back at you, Johnny. He's saying, Johnny, 15 goals during that period, by the way, Chelsea and West Ham, when we had a makeshift backline.
Well, good luck. We conceded too many against Brentford. We conceded too many today. Too many against Man United. I'm just saying, are we going to concede 2 every game?
Too many against Brighton.
I was there, unfortunately, for that one as well.
Yeah. No, listen, I appreciate the. Listen, he's standing true to his point, though. I think that what he is saying is give them more time and we'll get better. 100%. Guys, listen, we're going to round it off here. I want to give everyone a chance to plug. There's only 2 channels, but I'll start with Saba. Saba's obviously gone, but make sure you get over to Football Heritage TV. I want to say a massive thank you to Saba. I'll put his link is in the description. I'll put it in the chat in a second. And whilst I'm doing that, James or Jack, whoever wants to plug Spurs related, what's coming up on the channel and where can people find you?
Jade it.
Charming, James, charming. Spurs related, come find us over there. Always looking to have a good panel like Sean and Johnny. Like to say we have a bit of a laugh with some reasonable football takes, not always from James's side, but you can come over for me. And yeah, like we like to have a good time. We talk good football, and walking and talking with Jack, I will be making a return. Being back at uni's been a bit of a palaver for me, getting back into the swing of things. So less night outs, more talking football and walks for me. But yeah, looking forward to seeing you guys come over to the channel. Come and support me and James.
And we did a player review of Lucas Bergvall yesterday, which got some good support, and everyone seemed to enjoy that. So go and check that video out as well. It's a bit of video analysis if you haven't seen him play, and analysing his stats a little bit in depth as well.
Wonderful stuff, guys. Thank you so much. There's the link, guys. You can see it in the chat there. Make sure you just hit the link. It doesn't take you away from the show, and just go and throw that love to them. They've been kind enough to give over their thoughts on a interesting game today. Johnny, my man, what's coming up on Johnny H's Twitter ITK?
I just to say I'm not related to the Spurs boys below, but give them a follow, give them a follow, give them a sub.
Cheers, mate.
Yeah, no, I tomorrow I'll be on Tottenham on tour doing anger management, where we'll be discussing the game. People still don't seem to understand how we do it. We analyse game by game. So when you're sitting there saying X had a bad game, and last week you said they had a terrible game, they think you flip-flopped and they all freak out. So it's quite an interesting show. Give us a follow and view tomorrow. And you find me on Twitter Spaces, which are back, and obviously with Sean on Devil's Advocate, which could be on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. Out at 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5.
It's supposed to be Tuesday lunchtime, but most of the time that's not actually the slot, and we end up squeezing it in some
your
of the time.
Your flexy friend. But give me a follow on Twitter, guys.
Get over to Johnny on Twitter, and on Johnny's Twitter, you'll find his links to his socials. He got his big Instagram account taken away from him, and so he's got to try and rebuild it. So if you guys are into Instagram, then you can find his link for that on his Twitter handle. Share some love. Also, guys, just get round to everybody in the community. If you see a Tottenham channel, make sure you subscribe them, because it's all just different opinions, and it's a one big giant community, and we all love each other like
Sean,
family.
I completely agree with that point you just made there. Get around to all the channels, but also when you get around to our channel, just appreciate how much Jack looks like Lucas Bergvall as well. It's literally Jack is the English version of him. So
nice, mate. Practice your Swedish accent.
I've been called a lot worse than that. So James, mate, you're full of the compliments today. So I'm going to say,
practice your Swedish accent, mate. Put a bit more blonde highlights through your hair, and then get down.
Get the old contact lenses in. I'll start charging for photos at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
Yeah, stop putting the white kit on. Get the white kit on.
Full kit. Make sure I get the shin pads on as well, Johnny, next time I'm there.
Jackie Bergvall. There we go. And lastly, guys, if you haven't been over to Sav's channel, I'm sure you have it. If you haven't, there's his link. Show some love to him as well. Thank him very much for if he's still watching in the background. Appreciate you for coming on, Sav. Right, guys, that's it from us. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone that's been dialed in. It's been insane numbers. Given what's going on today, I really appreciate everyone. Also, massive thank you to all the super chats and the members. Really appreciate your support of the channel, guys. We'll see you tomorrow for Tottenham Takes with Pete, with Johnny. We're starting with Johnny, with Dave, with Pete, with George and Henry. And then you'll also see me back out with Bugsy very soon. Like, subscribe, and comment, guys. Get over to all these guys. And as always, come on, you Spurs.
Go, you Spurs!